This is a piece of something I've been wanting to show you for a very long time. It's time to start mocking things up and take this build to the next level. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. So some of you guessed, and some of you guessed correctly. I did get a sequential gearbox, but this isn't just any sequential gearbox. This is the ALBINS ST6 6-speed sequential gearbox. And I know what you're thinking, this might be a little bit overkill, especially because it was designed for Australian V8 Supercar. And if you're not familiar with the V8 Supercars, this was a spec series, so the ST6 was in every car on grid. Because it was so successful in that series, they decided to put it in other vehicles, other applications, which would be like the flying mile cars, 24-hour endurance, and even Baja winning trophy trucks. But they didn't stop there. Now it's available in all kinds of applications, such as the GTR, T56, SR20, VR38, and in my case, the 2JZ. This specific ST6 is what they call the 2JZ unit. What that means is it has a 2JZ bell housing and input shaft, which means there's no modification needed to bolt this directly to the 2J. This is important to me because I can use a standard clutch and flywheel. I can use a standard starter. I don't have to go finding all these weird different parts and measuring stuff up. This is a direct bolt-in application. Now don't get me wrong, there is going to need to be some modifications to the chassis. It is a unit. If you look at it, it's very tall, it's very wide. And from professional motorsports, I know that shoving a transmission like this is going to need modification as far as the trans tunnel, a new mount, and a new drive shaft, certain things like that. I'm not intimidated by that because I know I have enough space for this and I can make the cockpit work for me and I have a good workaround. I just got to build myself a trans tunnel. Now I have had this unit for a couple years, and since I've had this, they have redesigned it. So they made a low profile version. As you can see here, the shifter is on top. Now this shifter has been redesigned to be put on the side and fit in better applications. So it is something, if you're looking into building a race car, drag car, something like that, they have more direct bolt-in units. For me, I'm building an all-out race car, I'm changing everything, so this does not matter. Now, there are many benefits to having a sequential transmission, and I'm not gonna go over all of them today. One thing you know is they shift faster than you can blink. It is going to be insanely fast shifting. The other thing is it's super robust. It can take all the power that I'm going to put in this drift car, so I know that I can confidently stay on throttle and I'm not going to miss gears. I'm not going to break anything. So having that peace of mind is really cool. Other than that, it's just the sound, man. It sounds so cool. And it's the most race car thing I could think of. So I definitely am super excited to put this in my own car. I want to go over a couple things that make the ALBINS ST6 a bit unique. The first thing I want to go over is this billet piece right here. This is what they call the drop gear housing. It's in between the bell housing and the main trans case. And what this housing has is two input gears that you can adjust your overall gear ratio. You can think of this like a quick change rear end, and changing the rear gear is something that's very common. Most guys in Formula Drift have a quick change rear end, and that's to accommodate for different tracks, different conditions. You might want to raise and lower the wheel speed. You might want to get the revs in a happier place and maybe not shift so much. So depending on the driver, depending on the conditions, it's a very crucial part of drifting. For me, this is very important because I'm not going to run a quick change rear end. I'm going to run something like a 350Z, 370Z rear end, and that changes my overall gear ratio pretty dramatically. So having the option to change my entire gear ratio overall is pretty awesome because I will be going to different tracks, I'll be driving on the mountain, and that requires a bit of a different gear ratio. So all I have to do is pop off this bell housing, replace the input gears, and change it to what I feel is good. So you can't tell me that that's not a really cool feature. Changing your overall gear ratio, you don't have to get into the main case at all. That can be intimidating. I've had to do that before, but having these drop gears, super cool. So the next thing I want to talk about is important for the mechanics, for the crew, and this would have saved me a lot of time in Formula Drift over the years. One of the things that you really worry about with a sequential transmission is the dogs and the gears. You got to check those out. You need to inspect the wear. Luckily, ALBINS has these inspection ports. There's 4 right here. You can see every gear, every dog. All you have to do is pop that out and you can check the wear. You need to check the wear to ensure that nothing catastrophic is coming and you can get a jump on it. So if there is wear, you can replace the dogs, you can replace the gears, and you don't have to worry about replacing an entire transmission. The other cool part about this is it is above the oil level, so you don't have to drain anything. So you can leave this in the car and inspect it in place. You don't have to drain everything, you don't have to pull the transmission out, and I can speak from experience saying pulling a transmission out, pulling it apart is very exhausting on the crew, and this is a pretty heavy unit. This is 125 pounds. If you could imagine doing that a couple times a weekend, it's kind of a pain in the ass. So another cool feature of the ST6 is the oil pump. So it has its own internal oil pump. You know everything is going to be lubricated equally, and these ports here will go out to a filter, also a cooler, so you can add capacity and keep a monitor on things, but I'm not gonna need something that crazy. I'll figure that out when I get in the car, but these have run in 24-hour endurance races. These have run Baja. I'm pretty confident that I'm not gonna see the temperatures that these guys see, and I know that this will be a very robust unit, so what I do will be very small in comparison. And I can keep an eye on it if I need to. Down here is the oil temperature sensor, so I can plug that into the ECU, put it up on my dash, and I can monitor all these settings. I know I won't have to be crazy and looking over all this stuff, but it is nice to have. So as I had mentioned before, it has the standard input shaft, and it has this throw-out bearing, which already has the fittings on it. So I can run a bleeder, and I can run this straight to my master cylinder. So all that work is done for me. I'm pretty happy with that. There's nothing I need to modify for that. I'll just have to take some measurements with the throw-out bearing and the clutch to ensure that I have the right engagement. So up here, I have a little whip, and this will go to the gear selector. So this is going to go inside the cabin and tell me exactly what gear I am. I have reverse, neutral, and then 1 through 6. Now, if you've never driven a sequential car before, it can be confusing. And that's why you have a gear selector to remind you what gear you're in. With an H pattern, you can kind of feel where you're at, right? You have a good idea if you're in first or you're in third. You know if you're in second as opposed to first. And sometimes with a sequential car, you can kind of get lost. Having that to tell you exactly which gear you're in is very helpful. Most of the time I just count in my head. I used to ride motocross. I think I'd get it right, but you never know. Sometimes you get it wrong. Then right here on the side, we have the reverse lockout. So this will have a cable run to it, and then that is operated by this trigger here. The reason that is there is to prevent you from going into reverse on your downshifts. So they've made it very simple and dummy proof. That's a very quick overview of the Albins ST6. If you guys want more information about it, please drop a comment. I would love to answer anything you have. I do plan on doing more content with this as I install it and explaining how everything works. But if there's something you want to know, just let me know in the comments. If you guys are interested in this, if you guys want to build a serious drag car, drift car, road racing, off-road, you can get these in the US. I got mine through Weddle Industries in California, so you can have this in the US. They provide the gears, they provide all kinds of stuff. So if you guys are interested, I dropped a couple links in the description, so check out Albins, check out Weddle Industries, and if you're interested in something like this and want to go to the next level, I highly suggest the Albins ST6. All right, that's enough talk for me today. I gotta get to work. And to be honest, I really just want to see this on the motor, and then I really want to see it inside the car. Just want to make race car noises. Just imagine. I can't wait to get this thing in, get it done, and I can't wait to hear it. But first, let's bolt this thing up, and then we can start cutting up the car. All right, so in front of me, I have the R154 and the ST6. Curiosity got the best of me, so I just wanted to see the difference in height. So I'm just gonna check that out real quick. The R154 at its tallest point looks to be just above 10 inches. And then the ST6 at its tallest point would be just above 13 inches. So about 3-inch difference in height. And as I look at it from above, I really don't think there's a big difference in the width of them. So let's take a quick look. At the widest point on the R154, we're looking at about 10 inches again. And then with the ST6, about 10.5. So only ½ an inch difference in the width, but about a 3-inch difference in height. That's the main concern that we're looking at here. And then the overall length, I mean, it's within 3-4 inches of the output flange. So not terribly different, but I'm excited. So let's just go ahead and bolt the ST6 up to the 2J. All right. Let's see if my back is up to this. So I need to come up a bit. This is where I need to stretch a little bit. My old back isn't what it used to be. Anyway, let's stab this thing on. Okay. Actually goes a bit easier than I thought it would. Oh yeah, baby. I broke a nail. That is a thing of beauty. Holy crap, man. I am quite in love. So the time has come to start cutting out the trans tunnel. I know that I'm gonna end up cutting away more than I do today. I just wanna have a good look at it. So I know a few things from looking at the R154 and the ST6 side by side. A couple things I know is that the ST6 is way taller. So I do need to cut out this top section. The width is roughly the same, so I'm not very concerned with that. I don't wanna cut away too much as I wanna make it look nice. So I'm gonna cut away this top section here and maybe down a few inches, try that out, see where it sits, and hopefully get excited about it. Big hole there. All right, there's a big hole in there. So hopefully that's enough space. I think it will be. I left this portion here, which I intend to cut out in the future, but I don't think it's gonna be an issue with just fitting it up. I would like to measure everything out first. So I want to see where the trans lies. I'm going to just try and shove that thing in and see where she sits. Hopefully I cut enough. You can see I kind of put some tape around everything to make sure I don't really mess anything up. I don't want to scratch it, it's brand new. I know eventually it's going to get some scratches, but I don't need it right now. Ooh, she's big. All right, I'm running into my first problem, and I think I'll have to cut away more. Unfortunately, my plan didn't work. All right, as you can see, that is kind of my problem there. So I'm gonna cut out just a bit more, and everything should go in just fine. So just a little bit more. This is a bit of an awkward technique, but I'm trying not to hit the AN fittings. Once they're over the steering rack, that's all right. Boom. Heck yeah, man. From here, I'm gonna support it with the jack underneath and hope that it doesn't sway around too much. Holy moly. Wow, I'm actually fairly close to where I need to be. Let's see if I can jam a motor mount in. Yeah. I need to make a better mount for the subframe. Oh, I've found an issue. So I found an issue. The car is too light to support the motor. I'm gonna have to add some extra jack stands to support the front end as the back end is off the car right now. So there's no subframe, there's no fuel cell, and the front weight is way too much. So I'm gonna have to put some jack stands in to support the front. Just some things you overlook, you know? I'm excited, and I didn't think about that part. Here we go. All right, so I put a jack stand in the front to support the weight and set the motor down. I'm gonna jack the trans up, see if I can get it into a desirable spot. Feel like that's about right for now. She is tall. Oh, wow. That is cool, man. Well, this is officially the coolest thing I've ever done in one of my cars. It looks awesome in here. It's a big unit, that's for sure. Definitely gonna have to cut a little bit more out. I know that the width of it is not too much more, but around where the bell housing is, I'd like to cut that back a little bit more so I have some access to it. I'm able to take it out when I want to. Instead of pulling the whole motor, I can pull the trans out. And then the top here, I'm gonna have to build a trans tunnel that will be strong enough to hold the shifter and the handbrake. I wanna build the top here so it can be removable and I can access everything. Definitely has to be a good firewall, has to be very strong. I might have to make this out of some pretty strong material, but I'm pretty stoked with it. It's starting to look like something. And yeah, I'm gonna have to make a good mount first. So the mount looks like it lines up in a pretty good spot where there is kind of a cross member across the entire chassis. So that's cool. I'll have to beef that up quite a bit, make a very strong mount for this, and then I'm able to start working on the trans tunnel. But right now I'm stoked. I'm just gonna sit and admire it for a little bit. I'm pretty stoked to finally see this thing sitting inside the car. I know it's not mounted yet. I know it's gonna take a whole lot of fabrication to get this thing secure and finished out, but it's good to just daydream about it. I'm gonna have to think about a couple things on how I wanna plan for the future, for the coolers, for the lines, all of that stuff. So I'm gonna sit, chill out, take a look at this thing, probably lay under it for a little bit, try and organize some stuff in my head. But next time, I'm gonna start on the rear end because I need to get all that stuff done. I got a rear radiator, I got all that stuff has come in so I can start working on the back. I wanna get the subframe back in it so I can see where that sits, measure where I need to be with the transmission, and then order a drive shaft. So it's gonna be a lot of work, but we're starting to get to the stage where there's going to be a lot of fabrication and the chassis is gonna be moving along. I'm really pumped for it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm just gonna dream. If you guys got any ideas, let me know. I'll read the comments. See you next time.